Okay, you Linux nerds. Linux 6.13 is here. Listen to this. Oh, by the way, hello viewers. Listen to this. Linux 6.13 release with big changes. It says here, the first new kernel release of the year has arrived. Yes, Linux 6.13 has gone stable. Linux 6.13 adds, as ever, a vast array of improvements, from an updated Raspberry Pi graphics driver, promising speed gains to lazy preemption logic, expanded Rust support, new drivers for a host of hardware peripherals and digital doohickeys. Plus, with all the new kernel release, there's ongoing work to support new and upcoming CPU and GPU from industry titans Intel and AMD. Says here, Linus Torvald quietly confirmed the Linux 6.13 release in his email to Linux kernel mailing list, LKML. Nothing that has nothing horrible or unexpected happened last week, so I've tagged and pushed out the final Linux 6.13 release. And it says, if you'd like to learn more detail on the sorts of changes Linux 6.13 brings, read on. Then it says here, Linux 6.13 features and changes. Linux kernel 6.13 adds lazy preemption support and efforts to simplify the kernel preemption logic and configuration options to deliver better results. In time, its addition may see a reduction in scheduler related to calls throughout the rest of the kernel. And it says LWN has a detailed article looking at how preemption works in the kernel and how lazy preempting shakes things up. Then it says in parentheses, for the better. Well worth a read if you're interested in learning more. Then it says in blue here, core kernel change in Linux 6.13 are a reminder that Linux development remains fluid and open to revision. It says here, dynamic resizing of shared memory rings in the IOU ring subsystem is plumbed in thanks to the IORing registry ring resize command. This is a big boon since can open with smaller ring size, i.e. useless memory, then scale up as IO demands increase. It says here, elsewhere, there's a new PIDFD get info IOCTL brackets operation to fetch information about a process presented by the PIDFD and producing more performant kernel builds using auto FDO, auto feedback direct optimization, and popular optimizations. It says propeller optimization. It says here, and Linux 6.13 sees the work queue maximum concurrency limit raised from 512 to 2048. So that's 512 to 2048. Says here, a 4 times increase may help improve stability by reducing slowdowns caused by work queue limits and possibly boost work queue heavy workload performance. Then it says, although regular desktop users don't stand to directly benefit, this is an important change that will be keenly felt on server setups and in large-scale computing operations. It says here, these core kernels change in Linux 6.13 are a reminder that Linux remains fluid and adaptive, that its maintainers are not precautious or fixed on certain approaches. Technical merits within always, even for significant change proposal. It's another subtopic. Architecture and virtualization. Says here, a merge that caught a lot of hype during the Linux 6.13 development cycle adds supports for older iPhones and iPad chips from the A7 through to the A11, plus the many X edition in between. Says here, understandably, some folks in the Linux community are excited, assuming Linux distros will now magically boot on old iPhone/iPad. It's not that simple. The commit in 6.13 are a far bare bones basic bringing up, i.e. nothing end users usable, but it's a start. Then it says the long arch architecture picks up real-time preemption and lazy preemption support in Linux 6.13, while the kernel is also ready to handle RISC-V, SMMP, and SMNPM, and SSNPM pointer multi-masking extension. Anyway, it says here a new virtual CPU frequency driver is included in Linux kernel 6.13. This enables CPU frequency coordination between host and guest system. The goal: improve performance and power of workload within VM by sending the frequency by vCPUs as a hint to the host. And then it says here, want to run Linux in a protected VM under the ARM confidential compute architecture, CCA, on ARM 64 with Linux 6.13. You can, while support for guarded control stacks in user space offers security, hardening, and easier profiling. Subtopic: file system. Then it says Linux 6.11 add atomic write support for blocks device with NVMe and SCSI, while Linux 6.13 expands this to support atomic write support on extension 4 and XFS file system, extension 4 being Ubuntu default file system for those unaware. And then it says Microsoft Christian Bronner explains an atomic write is a write issued with torn write protection. This means for a power failure or any hardware failure, all or none of the data from the write will be stored, never a mix of old and new data. And then it says here a nice buff. Elsewhere, BTRFS is equipped to perform encode read via IO ring and will wait for sub volume. And then in parentheses it says S. Then it says to complete cleaning operation via the new BTRFS IOC sub volume sync wait IOCTL bracket and then command. The reserve file system was removed from the kernel entirely. Subtopic: device drivers detritus says Linux 6.13 bring improved Broadcom v3D kernel used by the Raspberry Pi, support for 1 megabyte super page and 6 kilobytes big page. Should deliver much faster graphics performance for games and application with high memory usage. Says here, over on Intel, newer Alienware X series, M series Dell laptop benefits from reverse engineered Dell WMAX thermal interface support. Then it says the Alienware Command Center app on Windows uses the interface to allow thermal profile to be configured by users, as that app is not available on Linux, and Dell is, and then it says in parentheses, yet to share any documentation about the interface kernel. Contributors step in. Then it says Linux 6.13 also adds plenty of new drivers for peripherals, devices, and other accessories. Among them, the $80 Crosshair Void headset, which can report battery status, microphone location, firmware version, USB wireless status, and side tone settings, and the new USB-C version of Apple Magic Trackpad 2. Then it says a new HID driver is introduced to support budget gaming device made by Kaisona. Presently, it's only support for battery reporting for the Kaisona M600 gaming mouse. Then it says in parentheses, which gets good reviews, close parentheses, but expect more device to be added in time. Then it says, although the SD Ultra capacity, memory and card specs was thrashed out in 2018 to support storage capacities of over 2 terabyte up to maximum of 128 terabytes. The first card will go on sale this year. ahead of then Linux 6.13 plums in support for SDUC cards. Says here, sticking with storage, ultra high speed 2 UHS-2 SDXC cards pick up improved performance in Linux 6.13, and the kernel adds support for the NVMe 2.1 specification. Then in parentheses it says amongst a host of other NVMe buffs. Now, as well as the item mentioned above, other changes in Linux kernel 6.13 says a faster CRC32C and Aegis 128 crypto performance on Intel/AMD, lightweight guard page features, Novi kernel driver DRM panic support for NVIDIA NV50 plus GPUs, Rust trace events in place module and memory allocator, runtime repartitioning support enabled for select GPUs, AMD EPYC 9005 processors now use AMD P-State, All-Winner A100 SoC CPU frequency support, big TCP GSO support for WireGuard, SE Linux now manage policies for individual netlink operation, case insensitive support for TMFPS, assorted new undocumented BPF features, and then it says file descriptors memory safety, new TX H/W traffic shaping API, Rust in place module support, multi-grain time stamped. Says here plus more. I only picked out the things that sound interesting to me, make my new sense tingle, or feel relevant to users of desktop Linux distribution. It says see the LWN merge report part 1 and 2 compiled during the Linux 6.13 development cycle for comprehensive detail. It says getting Linux kernel 6.13, wondering how to install the Linux 6.13 kernel in Ubuntu. If you're a champ at compiling code, do it yourself. Source code is available to download. Otherwise, you need to wait for someone else package to package the kernel update for you. Ubuntu LTS users do receive major new kernel release backport from newer Ubuntu release, i.e. Ubuntu 24.04, receive kernel from Ubuntu 24.10, 25.04, and 25.10, etc. as a part of Ubuntu hardware enablement, HWE stack. It says, but Linux kernel 6.13 won't be a part of the HWE since Ubuntu 25.4 isn't out yet and will ship with Linux kernel 6.14, which is only just about to enter development. Says here another option are canonical mainline kernel build. These aren't signs can fail to boot on some hardware, don't receive security update, may lack Ubuntu specific patch/fix, etc. But some users run them happily. If there is an important new feature or particular fix you need Linux 6.13 for, keep an eye on the server for prepackaged debs. Just know that you use them at your own risk. Okay. So yeah, Linux 6.13. Linux kernel 6.13. It's here, and 14 is entering development. I saw an article on Phoronix about that, so yeah. So for you Linux kernel expert, you know what to do. Have fun. Indulge yourself. Try out these new features and see what you think. And send your comment to the community, oh my god, Ubuntu. Yeah, send it to the community section. But yeah, another kernel update for Linux kernel. Linux operating systems, keep moving right along, man. Yeah, this is 2025, so updates are always coming in. Let's see, we got 4 comments here. Yes, Cuzzle said this. Okay, it is a bit confusing. Where can I get? And then Joe said this. Cinnamon 6.4 has a new default theme. Cinnamon, and then Linux Mint. And Joe said correct, which is what the caption underneath that image say. And then Skull say the first screenshot right side is not default theme. And then Joe said, glad it helps. Anyway, but yeah, Linux 6.13 is, kernel, kernel 6.13 is out now for you experienced Linux users to try, and beginners can give it a go, but beginners can get help from people that are experienced with using the kernel, and then take it from there. So yeah, but other than that, you guys are good though. They're coming out with a new one, so when the new one comes out, I'll let you know. I just ran into this by I was sitting there just browsing the web, and I'm like, oh, this, let me get this. So yeah. So Ubuntu, this, if you're very good at if you've been using the kernel, it's good to mess around and practice. When it comes to this tech stuff, it's good to experiment with stuff, practice with it, and see what you think, what you like, what you don't, what you dislike, and if you run into a problem when using Linux kernel, updates, you always got help, and especially in the community, because these guys been using it for, there've been people that have been using Linux for years, so never hurts to ask questions, when it comes to using this tech stuff. So yeah, but other than that, enjoy. So they got multi-grain timestamp, Rust in place module support, new TXH/W traffic API, file descriptor memory safety, assorted new undocumented BPF features, case sensitive support for TMPSFS. I kept saying TP. SE Linux now managed policies for individual netlink operations. Big TCP GSO support for WireGuard. All-winner A100 SoC CPU frequency support. AMD EPYC 9005 processor now use AMD P state. Runtime repartition and support enables for select GPU. Rust trace events in place. Module and memory allocator. Novi kernel driver DRM panic support for NVIDIA NV50 Plus GPU. 5090. Anyway, lightweight guard page feature. Faster CRC 32C Aegis 128 crypto performance on Intel/AMD. So yeah, when it comes to this, man, it's good to ask. When it comes to the Linux kernel, it's good to ask. Experienced individuals. Go into the forum, and they can help you with whatever you're trying to, whatever you're trying to deal with. So yeah, because with the Linux community, you got different people with different years of experience using it. So yeah, and they share information back and forth. So good to ask questions, man. So yeah. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video, and yeah, have fun with your Linux kernel, you Linux nerds, you programmers, engineers. Yeah, have fun. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. Nice talking to you people again. Crystal, Star Wars, Star Trek, Borg, Dark Side. Go. Thanks. Oh.